Games that punish players. Played a lot of them over the years, and I've taken my decade in game development, the thousands of games I've played, and the dozens I've designed, and boiled that all down as the 7 core pillars of punishment in game design. But time is the only resource your players can never get back. Every click, every load screen, every grind costs them something real. So here's the question. When someone plays your game, are you earning their time? Or just using it? Because players aren't asking for shorter games. They're asking for a positive return on their time investment. They want every minute to feel meaningful, not wasted on filler, fake difficulty, or endless waiting. So let's talk about 17 ways games accidentally punish players by disrespecting their time, and how to make sure every second feels worth it. My name is Tim Leswick. Let's dolphin dive into it. First up, unclear objectives. Confusion's not difficulty. Let's be real about that. If you don't have objectives, you don't have a game, you have a tech demo. So objectives are incredibly important to your game, and making them clear, I think, is super, super important. If they're not clear, you're wasting time. So how do you make them clear? The easiest way is just to add UI elements. Objective this, go destroy the building. Objective B, go kill the enemies. But there are a lot of other things you can do. You can highlight stuff, you can have red outlines on stuff, waypoints. It really depends on what kind of game you're making, but you want to make sure the player always knows what to do, unless you're making a game where they're not supposed to know what to do, but you get the idea. Next up, overpunished failure. When failure means replaying huge chunks of your game, you're doing it wrong. When you die at a boss and now you got to redo the whole dungeon, that's not how it should work. So put careful thought into how failure states work. Most newer game developers, they come in this and like, oh, people died in games, and so I should have death in my game. And then you restart the level when you die. Like, that's easy, and it makes logical sense, but you really want to be careful on how you do this. So in my game, Phobia, one of the things that I worked on a lot was how quickly you respawn after death. So there's single screen levels. You do have to replay the whole level once you die, but that's why I kept them single screen. It takes less than 2 seconds to respawn, so it's almost super quick. And I had this thing where it was like, you died in failure, blah, 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 and then a restart button. That killed the whole game. So by not having that, having instant restart within a second or two, made the game much more snappy, and it helped you be more open to failure because your failure meant less, if that makes sense. Let's talk about repetition without evolution. So if you don't know this, there's a thing called the flow state, and the flow state is a state of being where humans focus on a thing, and they deeply focus on a thing, and they kind of forget the background noise. That's where an ideal game sits, in this perfect state of flow. The way you achieve flow is by having a mix of familiarity and novelty. So tasks that repeat without variation cause boredom. They need some sort of difference or escalation to be interesting. And so if you get a quest to fetch 10 dead rats, you go and you kill 10 dead rats, cool. If you get another quest to fetch 10 dead rats, you're gonna be done. You're like, nah. But if it's like, go fetch 5 crocodiles, then you're like, all right, I can do that. You see how that's like escalation? It's the same thing, but with variation and escalation. So it's much more interesting. When you've got the same patterns, the same puzzles, the same fetch loops, it feels like you're doing chores, not progressing. So players want to feel like they're progressing. One of the biggest ways to waste their time is to just make them repeat stuff over and over again. Nobody likes that. Let's talk about some UI grind. Tedious interface flows. When you need 5 menus to equip an item, confirm prompts for every action, reload every time you change settings, gameplay time replays with menu time. Does that sound fun to you? There's a lot of little things in this, but you want to shave off the amount of time that the player has to deal with your shit, with your menu, with your clunky stuff. And that's where UI and UX design comes in, because you want to streamline a lot of that stuff. But like confirm prompts, for example, you don't need confirm prompts on everything. You want confirm prompts on the important stuff. Delete your save. Are you sure? Yeah, you want a confirm prompt on deleting your save because that's 10 hours of their life, right? But you don't want a confirm prompt every time they move something in their inventory, for example. Just let them drag it and move it, right? Some decisions don't have weight. And so those decisions without weight don't need confirmation. So you need to keep this in mind with your menus, because you don't want people to deal with a bunch of clunky menus and have to try to figure stuff out. That's wasting their time. Unskippable on-ramps. Long intros, slow starts, forced tutorials. Come on, give players the freedom to not waste their time if they don't want to waste their time. I found this with tutorials a lot. I used to force tutorials because I was like, players are going to learn how to play my game, because if they don't, they're going to complain they don't know how to play my game. Well, guess what? Sometimes they're playing it for the second time and you're forcing them through the tutorial. Sometimes Splattercat or some other big YouTuber is playing the game and you're forcing the tutorial on a Twitch stream or a YouTube video. Let them skip it. Let them skip cutscenes. Let them skip all that. I know all that stuff's important to you, but it may not be important to them. So if it's not important to them and you force them through it, you're wasting their time. Collectible spam. Don't add stuff to collect just to add stuff to collect. If you're making a collection game, sure, cool. There are exceptions to every single thing on this list. But so much of game design is not what to add, it's what to take away. Design by subtraction can really help you here. Sure, there are some games that can benefit from more collectibles, but most of the time, making 1,000 things to collect and this and that, what it does is it just drags out your game time with boring stuff. You ever see those Steam reviews where people put like 2,000 hours into a game and then they have a negative review? It's usually because of stuff like this. It's like, yeah, they spent 2,000 hours in that game and it compelled them to play, but there was so much bullshit to collect that they didn't have a good time, especially near the end where they're leaving the review. So think about fake difficulty. Don't put fake difficulty in your game. Stat inflation, bullet sponge enemies, cheap deaths. You gotta break a few rules every once in a while. So I'm not saying never have a bullet sponge. Sometimes it's really fun to have a bullet sponge, but I'm saying all the enemies shouldn't be bullet sponges. Don't put weapons in your game that are 200 damage and then you can get another weapon that's 220 damage and then you get another weapon that's 240 damage. Like, make weapons interesting in other ways. Don't just inflate the stats. Unless that's the whole game design, right? Like a Vampire Survivors type of deal, whatever. But generally, in most types of games, stat inflation is just wasting players' time. It doesn't feel meaningful, and it doesn't feel interesting. And cheap deaths is another version of this. I did this in Phasmophobia 2. I had these levels where the boss comes out before you meet the boss to kill you. And I thought, oh, that's cool. That's going to intro the boss. But all it did is it forced a death, and then players that wanted to do a no death run or things like that were just like, this is dumb. Be respectful to players' time. And this, like anything else, take it or leave it. Break this rule sometimes. Don't always use this rule, but also keep in mind that you don't want players to feel like their time is wasted. So if you're just inflating a stat, or you're just, oh, this is the same enemy with more health, you know, be respectful to their time. Along the lines of fake difficulty is grind walls. Grind walls include things like static loops, where nothing really happens, you just do the same thing over and over again. Mandatory grinds to progress. Oh, you need 1,000 XP to progress. How do you get 1,000 XP? You kill 1,000 enemies. Okay, cool. Do I really want to kill 10,000 more rats, or would I prefer to like see new and interesting shit? So we're mid-video. I'm going to take a second to tell you something I'm really passionate about. This is DevPods. It's a community where a bunch of game developers get together to make a game. It's a game jam-like atmosphere without the grind or crunch. So if you've always wanted to join a game jam, or maybe you like game jams, but you just don't want to do it in 48 hours, you want to make a game in a couple months with some cool people instead, this is for you. Unlike game jams, all of our projects are structured. We have project leads that keep the projects on track. We have people available to help. Because of that, we've been able to ship 100% of our games on time. We've also shipped 11 games in the last 12 months, which is awesome. Some of these games have 10 or 15 different contributors, and they range from anywhere from 2 to 5 months dev cycle. So it's constantly stuff in progress, and there's constantly people working on stuff. It's super compatible with any schedule. You can work on as much or as little as you want, and you can even skip weeks if that's not for you. And on top of that, you can do the tasks your way. So if you want to turn your free time into finished games, and you want to make games the fun way, head over to devpods.gg, use code TIM for 50% off your first month, and I'll see you in there. This is another huge one, is delayed failures. So this happens a lot in board games, but this also happens in strategy games a lot and stuff like that. You lost 20 minutes ago, but you didn't know you lost. And so what do I mean by that? If you're playing something like XCOM, right? There are states in XCOM where you can lose key soldiers because there's permadeath in that game. XCOM 2 I'm talking about. You can lose key soldiers and then not be able to finish the final mission or the boss. Like, you won't be able to win with the soldiers that you have. But playing the game, you don't know that yet. So you keep going, and you might spend another several hours doing things to make sure that you can actually get there. So what sucks about this is, like, if you need a certain amount of like stats or armor or units or whatever to progress to a level and you don't have those, the game doesn't tell you that you lost. There's a lot of scenarios where you just want to let the player off the hook early and just be like, oh, you lost too many soldiers, failure. And while that might suck, because like, no, I could have done it. They couldn't have done it. They just don't know that. So by saving them that hour or 20 minutes or whatever they were going to play the game and still lose, and they didn't know that, you can actually actually give them a much better experience, much quicker, more respectful of their time experience. Probably the most obvious example of wasting players' time is forced waiting. Arbitrary cooldowns, sleep timers, waiting for crops or resources to grow or tick instead of playing the actual game. Now, there's some entire games based on forced waiting, all right? There's clickers and idle games and all that. I'm aware of that. This, just like anything else on the list, take it or leave it, use it or don't. It applies sometimes, it doesn't apply all the time, but generally, I've seen forced waiting be used in really negative ways. A key example would be some pay-to-win mobile games, right? Oh, you're out of energy, you gotta wait 24 hours to play the game again. Nobody wants to do that. You're doing that because you're getting them excited about the game and then you're artificially stopping them so that they come back more. And that's manipulation in its worst case, but it's wasting their time in its best case. Don't make the player wait more than they have to, please. Travel tax, excessive backtracking or long travel times with no gameplay value. It's especially brutal when you can unlock fast travel later, like after you don't need it anymore. Like what? Like why walk in the same forest over and over again to turn in a quest? It doesn't make any sense. So obviously this applies to particular types of genres, mainly AAA Assassin's Creed type games, but like don't make the player traverse unnecessarily, right? Like if they have to go travel a long journey to do a thing, consider saying congratulations, you did the thing, and then teleport them back to the castle or whatever the hell. Find ways to save their time. Don't waste it. Overlong animations that are just too long, slow attack animations, long crafting or upgrade sequences, things you repeat hundreds of times should not be long and tedious. It might look cinematic and feel great the first time, but it feels like punishment by the 10th. Trust me. So this, like anything else, long animations are good. I know what the comments are going to say. They're going to be like, but Tim, I have a heavy weapon animation and I need it to be a long animation. Cool, do that. When you need it, do that. But if you're crafting 10,000 times a minute, don't make the crafting animation this giant like big hammer thing, dude. Don't make me wait all that time to craft my stupid hammer or whatever. Artificial pacing. Don't slow progress to pad your game length. Don't drip feed upgrades. Don't do long walk and talk sessions. Don't gate a story behind arbitrary timers. It's not content, it's just delay, and it wastes my time. One of the actually successful great examples of this, of someone not doing this, is BioShock audio logs, right? They're pretty famous at this point. You pick up an audio log, it starts to play audio, and then you just go play the game, right? So you can listen to the story while you're playing the game. You don't have to like stop what you're doing to understand this giant lore concept or whatever. You can just like listen to it and figure out what's going on while you're playing the game. So it doesn't waste your time. It just gives you something extra. So don't pad your game out longer than it needs to be. It's almost always better to end it too soon and leave them wanting more than end it too late and it be just a tiny bit too much. They will have a better experience. They will leave better reviews, almost a certainty. Excessive RNG. Your progress is blocked by random drops, spawns, success chances. You're forcing players to repeat content endlessly for luck. The time sink is baked right into the game. That's not cool. One of the most famous examples of this is the search for Gallahorn. In Destiny, if you played it back in the day, Gallahorn was an epic rocket launcher that became a status symbol. It was so powerful that people would require it to do raids. So if you grouped up with 5 other people, they'd be like, you have to have Gallahorn to join, otherwise they'd kick you out, literally. The only way to get it was like exotic drops, which you had to do the raid to get most of the time. The only way to get that rocket launcher was a random drop. So after several years of playing, millions of players still couldn't get this weapon. I'm not saying they should give it out to everybody, but I'm just saying that like having things like that behind excessive RNG is a waste of time because there are plenty of players that played that same content over and over and over and over and over again just to try to get that weapon. Overstuffed or empty worlds. And this can go either way. Like your world's full of way too much shit or it's completely empty. If you've got too many micro objectives, collectibles, icons, stuff we talked about before, you're turning exploration into a checklist instead of discovery, which it should be. If players are spending more time opening the map than playing the game, you're probably doing something wrong. On the overstuffed side, we talked about collectibles and all that type of thing. You don't want 1,000 different samey types of objectives. And again, this stuff might apply more to specific genres than other genres. Don't have 17,000 types of fetch quests. Maybe just have a couple that are meaningful, but also don't have a map if it's gonna be empty. Session hostage. Games that don't let you save or quit frequently. Please don't do that to me. Don't force me to play your game for long periods of time without saving. I want to save, I want to quit. Life calls. I got a daughter. sometimes I have to go do stuff. Find a way to let players save frequently or save when they're quitting or something. Whatever genre you're making, whatever kind of game you're making, find a way to make it respectful for their time. Empty downtime. Don't make me wait for long periods of time where nothing happens. Don't make me sit in an elevator where it's literally just going. Don't force me to walk or idle waiting or wait for 10 a.m. for the store to open. Or this whole illusion of immersion can be a trap, and it can just force players to wait. And this is not usually something that you'll see in your feedback or people will mention, but they'll just kind of be like, I don't want to wait anymore, and they'll stop playing. So hopefully this helped you on your game dev journey. This is part 1 of a 7-part series on how games accidentally punish players. It may or may not see the light of the day depending on demand, not sure. But if you want to see it, please leave a comment down below. Let me know you're interested, or just comment your favorite fact about dolphins. That's cool too. Either way, I'll see you in the next one.